This is Steve Robbins. Welcome to the Get It Done Guys, quick and dirty tips to work less and do more. Measurement. I just love measurement. That's because it tells you how you're doing, how much progress you've made. Progress checks can motivate you. They can help you catch yourself when you're slacking, and they can tell you when to change course. But without giving thought to how you define progress, you can measure the wrong thing, or you can measure it the wrong way. You might end up demoralized for no reason, or falling behind unknowingly on a project, or missing opportunities, or lying in the gutter, or a complete failure at the bright young age of whatever age you are now. So no, don't do that. Don't. If you're going to measure progress, do it right. Turn off the autopilot gut checks and measure progress thoughtfully. First, measure process goals. If you're type A like me, you probably overwork yourself under the assumption that more work gives more progress. But does it? Have you ever measured? Just being stressed and busy does not mean we're getting anything done. We need to track how far we are from our goals and whether we're closing the gap. So first of all, determine the kind of goals you're chasing. Episode number 462, Grow a Pair for Your Career, outlines the difference between outcome goals and process goals. Outcome goals, like getting a promotion, are something you strive for, not something you just do. Process goals, on the other hand, are measurable actions that help you get closer to your outcome goal, like making 10 more sales calls each day. On a daily basis, measure your progress through movement around your process goals. It doesn't matter how much you work, only whether that work takes you closer to finishing that day's process goals. Then, check that your process goals are doing what they should by tracking overall movement towards an outcome goal. For example, if you work in sales, your process goal might be to make 50 cold calls a day. If that's your goal, sending 200 emails should not count as progress. What's more, if your outcome goal is to close sales and you haven't closed one in months, you may need to rethink if you actually have the right process goals. Maybe the number of calls isn't what leads to sales. Maybe you need to make progress on the quality of your calls instead. So instead, try making your process goal, tweaking your sales pitch and testing which ones are most effective, and direct some more work towards that. Measure how far you've come. Another way to track progress is to look at how far you are from your starting point. Sam is a 20-something who's just started up a fairly successful online delivery company that's just a couple years old. The vision of being the next Amazon.com seems impossible, or at least light years away. And it actually is. However, knowing that it's not Amazon.com yet is not a useful measure for evaluating progress. Furthermore, it's so far away that it isn't even clear which paths today would lead to that result tomorrow. So Sam instead can concentrate on what has been accomplished so far. They started sitting around a dining room table. Now they have office space, customers, a business model that works, money in the bank, and profit. By measuring progress based on how far you've come, not how far there is left to go, Sam can realize that they've made tons of progress and can make sure that it continues to unfold as more and more milestones get added to the list. You can also measure the distance from your goals, because unlike Sam, at some point your goal is within reach, and then you can start measuring that distance and concentrating on closing the gap. Now don't do this too soon. You can hurt morale. At my last Harvard Business School reunion, for example, doing an am I there yet mental progress check gave me a soul-crushing burst of inadequacy as I was moderating a panel of my classmates whose combined net worth was enough to purchase a third world country and pave it over. In gold. When you're out on a long run, you get a surge of fresh energy when you see that you're only 10 feet from the finish line and there's an entire 55-gallon drum of gummy bears waiting at the end and an Oreo ice cream cake. The next thing you know, you're barreling over the finish line. When you've passed the halfway point on a project or an initiative, that's when you might want to start measuring your progress by how quickly you're closing in on your goal. Keep that Oreo ice cream cake in mind and set new goals to push you those last few feet. A good way to do this is to make a checklist of things you'll need to do to reach that endpoint. So these can be high-level things like run A/B testing with focus groups, or low-level things like write an email to call for A/B testing participants. Once your plan is on paper, finishing your project will seem much more doable since all of the steps are right there in front of you. And as I talked about in episode 466, make a plan for motivation, even if you get some steps wrong, just making the plan will energize you and be motivating. Once you figure out the best way to track your progress and the types of progress you need to track, choose how often you'll track. Sometimes tracking progress once a week is plenty, but from my experience, it's usually best to track progress every 2 to 3 days, twice a week. Because that way, if you suddenly notice that you're not where you should be, you only have to make up 2 or 3 days worth of work. Where if you were checking once a week, you could get an entire week behind before you'd actually notice it. What gets measured gets managed, and we love to manage progress. On a daily basis, concentrate your measurements on your process goals rather than on your outcome goals. And then choose a less frequent measurement based upon where you are in your project, either distance to your goal or distance from your starting point. With a little experimentation, you can find the magic formula that will help keep you at the top of your game. I'm Steve Robbins. Follow Get It Done Guy on Twitter and Facebook. I give great keynote speeches on productivity, living an extraordinary life, and entrepreneurship. Find me online at steverrobbins.com or join my personal mailing list by texting Get It Done to 33444. You'll also get a free copy of my secret book chapter on how to build relationships that help you succeed. Work less, do more, and have a great life.